on both ways of doing this, and I asked him about, as far as the state government, how they, I asked him about that vote recently, and he said basically what they did, because this has been coming for a long time, every year. At the state level, they, while the people that were in, that had 6 years at the end of this term would get it, and then even if you're in office right now, you don't get it after this, if you didn't already have it. So that's how, they did it in the state. But the state, plan was only from 55 years old to 65 years old.
They also, I believe, they're going forward, and I think that's what we're gonna talk about. The state recommended with most of your cuts, they're not saying you can do anything you want, but they said to mostly start and go with forward, with
Right.
all your unions and all your stuff,
Right.
go forward. You can do some cuts, but that's basically what the state did, is they went forward.
Right, well,
I know, because he told me, Doug told me.
yeah,
They
another
went
thing,
forward.
exactly. Another thing with it, that we talked about, was, the fact that, some people served for 4 years or something, or 5 years. At one time it was 8 years, another time it was 5 years. And, they've been, getting paid for 30 years, for this, this long, for serving such a short time. And so at some point it has to come to an end.
Yeah, I would never dream of, we have our, obviously you can't, you legally can't, but I don't see, and I wouldn't agree with, and it's difficult to understand, like you were saying, Mary Ann, you worked somewhere for 35 years, and now they're taking away a benefit that you thought you were gonna have the rest of your life. I would never dream of doing that to our lifers, you know what I'm saying? The people that have been here, put in their years and planned on this retirement. But we're not talking about that, and when this was first brought to my attention, it was brought by Doug Geis, and obviously his brother had some input in here, and he's an attorney, that this is not a bargaining group. This is elected officials. They're a distinct group. And while some of them might have left and gone to a bargaining group by being appointed to a full-time position, that's a whole different ballgame there.
All the people
Because
in the state
they,
are elected too, Cheryl.
pardon me?
All the people in the state are elected.
No, they're not. They're state
Senators,
employees.
congressmen, state reps, they're all elected.
Well, I guess I'm just saying, like, we're looking
They
at,
are elected.
Well, they're stopping too.
they're not in the deficit elimination
Going
plan.
forward. But my point is they're elected.
We stopped it too, we didn't go forward, we
But
didn't.
people that were already here still got it, even though, like Doug just said, like, he's been there for 4 years, he doesn't have 6 years, so he's not
But
eligible.
if you had 6, you
Right.
would continue to get it. That's what I'm saying.
In the state level, but he said there's lots of case law out there, there's statutes, there's Supreme Court decisions that, we all should look at and
I think in my experience, we should talk about 15 years. We're not talking 2 years, we're not talking 3 years, we're
Right.
talking 15 years.
But I bet there's some legal opinions, well, somewhere
You
about
said
it.
Doug's getting there 6 years, we're talking 15 years. We're not talking 2 years, 3 years,
But-
a minute.
But we're also talking
15
about
years.
people that worked 4 years and they've been getting the benefit for 30. So,
You know, I mean,
they're
even
still
my
getting
dad,
it.
my-
Even if they're gone, their spouses are getting it.
My dad was
30
here
years
for
later.
17 years as a council person. But he was at Ford Motor Company those same years, and that was his livelihood. And so, I think there's a distinction to be made too, and I think we need to look at that about full-time and part-time. Because you can't have
Well, I'm
two
the only one
full-time
left,
jobs.
Cheryl, so you're talking about me, I'm the only one left.
See, Jackie, I'm not talking about you ever.
I'm the only one
Just
left.
remember that. I'm
I'm the
never
only
talking
one
about
that
you.
gets.
I'm talking about our city. So I'm thinking too that there is a distinction there. I mean, if
You're
like,
talking about your dad, so you're
Sabo
talking
was
about
here for how many years? Was he clerk?
I'm sorry,
Sabo,
oh, I don't know.
many years. You've been here many years. It is, when it's a full-time job, it turns into a career in those positions often. I think there is a distinction there. Rick has a full-time job, Sue has a full-time job, I have a full-time job. You can't do that and be a full-time clerk or a treasurer or a mayor. You can't do both things. You can be a council person. You could be a school board member, but you can't be the superintendent and have a full-time job somewhere else. You just can't. You will not get hired. So I'm saying there should be some distinction there also. I don't know what it is, but it is true. We know for a fact it is true. It is not a bargaining group. We don't have a contract. We come in as elected people by the will of the people, and we go out that way. And A union contract doesn't happen that way. You know, you have a union contract about your job and your employer.
And they should be getting money for that.
So,
So we'll have some more information tomorrow?
Yes. She's already working on it.
Are there some more opinions about this, you know?
Well, you were talking about Doug. I just texted him, asked him if he had any legal standing for his comment, and he said, under Michigan Supreme Court ruling a few years ago, those retiree healthcare benefits aren't considered an actual quote-unquote enforceable obligation. That means the state could legally trim them, limiting coverage, requiring co-pays, or theoretically even wiping out the benefits, and then he forwarded on the article link, legal resource, and recent articles, Michigan Supreme Court holds that healthcare benefits are not approved financial benefits protected by the state constitution. I can forward it on.
Yeah, he said he was gonna send it to me too, I was gonna send it already.
and, so now can we, take a little break and then go into some deficit elimination discussion? We're supposed to do that tonight. That's why we started early, okay? So we'll take like a 10-minute
Madam Chair,
nature break?
Um,
Yes.
I just brought Diane home from the hospital today, and she's on, she's fine. She had knee replacement surgery, and I'm going to have to go home. And it breaks my heart to be there, but it would break my jaw not to be there.
Steel, just to make sure, take it updated. Packets, including the golf deficit plans in there as well.
I didn't have anything to read this.
So, Rick, did you order the pizza?
That's all one.
If you will, Councilman, we're gonna pass them to you, it's gonna break, and we can pass them out while you guys are doing it, if that's the case, or pass them out now.
Rick, did you order the pizza?
I'm sorry.
Did you order the pizza?
Oh, I'm trying to, word salad.
You ever see a thin rabbit? That's what Mom Starker said. That's really